The old switcheroo. So let's start with the art here. This is, I don't want to say iconic, but rather notable piece from the show. Um, because of course, Twilight and Cadence's body swap, or really all you can tell from this shot is main swap. Clearly, the intent was mind swap as well, but the mains went with them, and that's the only way that you can tell that they've swapped bodies. Well, Cadence's crown, but that's it. Just the mains swapped. The coloring is the same, the cutie mark's the same, even the tail is the same, and all of Cadence's clothes, the except for the crown, um, stayed on Cadence. So that's really weird, isn't it? That only the mains swapped. But it's enough. It's enough to show how off-putting it is, right? Because they look wrong, right? That's not Twilight. That's not Cadence. They look wrong, and that's what they were trying to go for in the show. It's what Discord was trying to go for. I mean, assuming he knew that we were watching, but it's wrong, and he knows it, and it makes for great card art, and it made for a good card, right? Or an interesting card at the very least. So yeah, great job on the art here. And even the flavor text references that only the mains swap because of the whole you have to walk a mile in the other person's shoes, ponifying that with main. So I like that. This is a really, really great flavorful card, and I love it. Let's look at the actual card part, what it actually does for you. So this is a really interesting card. We've had pink have borrowing effects before, simple mix-up. In the same set had hoops, and I think there was a few others as well. And we've had more since then, pink's whole borrowing thing. But a lot of them last until end of face-off. This one is main phase, and it lasts until end of score phase. The reason it's until end of score phase is so you can't retire the friend to home limit, of course. So a distinction that Sonata does not have, you might realize. But so yeah. So you can borrow stuff, but unlike simple mix-up, which is just borrow a friend from anywhere, this old switcheroo specifies add a problem. But not only that, the opponent chooses. So unless they only have one friend there, you're not guaranteed to get the one that you want. And of course, you're playing pink, otherwise you wouldn't be playing this card, and pink is good at dismissing friends as well as borrowing friends, so you might be able to whittle them down, or maybe they only have one there naturally anyway, so maybe that's not a major concern for you. What might be a concern is the fact that you have to donate your own friend as well. Now, let's back up a moment. Let's look at one of the key words here. It says exchange control of those friends, right? So you might be thinking, oh, well, I'll just play this when I don't have a friend and it'll work fine, right? Unfortunately, no. Now, why you might be thinking of that is because of how the pony card game works, right? Let's say you're playing Rarity's Epiphany. If you play Rarity's Epiphany, you have to choose two of its three modes. So you have to banish a friend without a resource, you have to play an accessory from your hand, or you can retrieve a resource from your discard to your hand, right? And you pick two of those. So you have to pick two of those modes. But you don't have to do both of those modes. You have to do them if you possibly can. If you have a resource in your discard and you choose that mode, you must do that. And if you can dismiss a friend without an attached resource, you must do that. But if you can only do one of those things because one of those things isn't possible, like if you have nothing in your discard, you can still dismiss a friend. So that's how pony cards works. If you can't do all of something, you do as much of it as you possibly can. So why doesn't that work with the old switcheroo, right? you would think that it would perform as much as it can. Oh, well, I'll exchange control of that and you exchange control of mine. Nothing. It doesn't work because of the word exchange. You can't exchange something for nothing. An exchange is the changing of two things, A for B, B for A. It's not A for nothing, nothing for A. That's not an exchange. That's just taking or borrowing, as I prefer to call it in ponies. So that's a really interesting thing, that you must give them something, which is of course why this costs 1, well, that and the fact that the opponent chooses, as opposed to simple mix-ups costing 2, and this has 3 rec as opposed to simple mix-ups 4 rec. At least off the top of my head, I believe it's 2 and 4. Don't yell at me if I'm wrong. Um, so how can you take advantage of that, right? The fact that you're giving them a friend. Well, obviously you could give them an exhausted friend or a friend with 0 power, or you could give them, or something with a bad resource on it or something. But for the most part, there's no real good way of abusing it. There are no friends in the game right now that punish the opponent when they have them, except for Screwy, but Screwy, or not Screwy, I'm sorry, Screwball. Screwball already punishes them just for having it, and you want them to have it longer than just 1 turn anyway, and or Screwball already goes to the opponent, right? That's what she does. So unfortunately, right now, this might change later, but right now there's no real good reason to donate your own friends, which is a bit of a bummer. But it's perfectly, play a gyro and then give them the gyro. You're typically going to come out ahead, even if it's not a blatant unfair exchange, right? So what kind of things can you do afterwards, right? Well, obviously you can use that friend to confront problems or win face-offs or that stuff. But the most popular thing to do, of course, is to use retire benefits, right? Uh, play Penny Lane and then dismiss their friend, or retire their friend, since that's what Penny does, and then you get action tokens out of the deal. So you can frequently fake dismiss friends for really cheap by borrowing things and playing Penny Lane. Or you might use Lily or the High Magic Simpson Snails, the one that's hasty, or any number of things, right? In fact, the High Magic Simpson Snail, since it is hasty, can take advantage of the fact that you're borrowing until end of score phase, so you can confront one problem with the friend that you borrowed and then play Simpson Snails to confront the other problem, right? So there's some nice little tricky things you can do with the old switcheroo, but I mean, you can do all of that stuff with any borrowing effect, right? So you don't need to use the old switcheroo. The old switcheroo just happens to be one of the cheaper ways of doing it, being 1. But that's because of all of these other catches. So yeah, I think that's covers just about everything with the old switcheroo. I really do wish there were more friends that you could donate to the opponent to punish them for having it or something, or rewards you when it's on their side somehow or something, but there's just very, very little reason to do that right now, and it's unfortunate. Like, the best you can really do right now is give them exhausted friends or something. Or, actually, something I didn't think of, you can use this to start face-offs, right? You donate your big thing for their small thing, to start a face-off. But of course, the only reason you're going to do that is if you're confident you can win that face-off. But that might be relevant in the future with the whole new rules change. But I doubt it. It's not common that the opponent has friends that have a problem when they're not confronting it. That there isn't a troublemaker in the way, So, but be on the lookout for that. That would be really tech, doing that to an opponent. You know, giving them your Applejack element of honesty so that they can confront, and then you confront with 3 Night Gliders, and you're like, haha, I got you. You gotta admit, that would be amazing tech, but very, very unlikely going scenario. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for the old Switcheroo. Thank you, Celtic Waters, for submitting this. Next time, we will talk about, oh, one of the most powerful friends in the game right now. I am actually intentionally not going to say the name of this. You can look on the schedule if you want, but I'm not going to say the name because I want to see if you guys can guess what friend this is. Now, I don't think this friend is in the top 5, but I do think this friend is in the top 10. So see if you guys can guess what this is before next time. Or if you don't want to guess, you can just look at the schedule. And yeah, I think that's it. I will see you next time, guys. See you later.